Yo, what is good? What is going on, everyone, everywhere? I'm a little feeling some type of way, a little salty, whatever you want to call it. Cause I just recorded this whole video and just realized it was on mute the entire time. So I'm gonna try to recreate it. I'll probably leave out a couple of little interesting facts and tips, whatever the case may be. So I do apologize for that in advance. Go ahead, before we get into the video, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share the video out to everyone that plays DC or anyone that's potentially thinking about coming back to the game or trying out the game for the first time. All right. We are going to be in the House of Legends, as you see here, because where most people now do a lot of their damage testing. Okay. We're going to go linearly. When I mean linearly, we're going to start with a single target here, go to 3 targets in the center, and then 5 targets on the edges here. Okay. And we're going to basically go over all the damage parsing numbers that you should be hitting. Generally, you want to do 10-second parsers. It shows you how much damage you're doing on a very consistent basis. 60-second parsers can see how much damage you can do over a prolonged time, but you would then have to take into account if you mess up your rotation of any kind, any like human error that you could have done, any kind of timing that you could have mismanaged or been off, and that will affect that entire 60 seconds in, instead of it just affecting the one 10-second parser. Okay, so it's generally recommended and pretty standard that you run 10-second parsers. If you don't know what a parser is, it's, as you see all these damage numbers right here and my test log that I have here, it's basically the damage. As you see, it says 10 seconds and it gives you a damage per second, right? Then it gives you the total amount of damage that you did. So it's generally the 10 seconds times the damage per second gives you the total, or you just take the total and divide it by 10. Either way, okay, for the math people. But it gives you the amount of hits. It gives you the max single hit that you have done. So whatever was your highest damage, whether it be just a crit or just a non-crit, whatever that maxed hit was, if it's 100,000, if it's 1,000,000 plus, if it's 3 million, it will tell you the exact number of what it hit with the max right there. It will show you your crit percentage, as you see, and how many crits you had, and then it'll show you how many targets that you ended up hitting within that 10 seconds as well, just to go over the parser. Okay, but for this DLC, we're in the Dark Knights DLC. I'm going to go ahead and show you the on duty tab just so you can see. All right, we have the Dark Knights right here. That's in the event section, so you know that's the current and latest DLC with the death metal stuff going on. All right, now this video is definitely for anyone who is might based or precision based. It does not matter in terms of DPS or if you're trying to do a battle support role. All right, just to test out your damage, see what kind of numbers that you are hitting at and what should be your goals to hit at when making your loadouts, testing your loadouts, or anything of the sort. Okay, now when it comes to single target, which we're going to get into right now, you should generally be try to hit over 100,000 damage per second. All right, so in the per second thing right here in these parsers, try to hit over 100,000 consistently. That is definitely if you are closer to the maximum CR. The maximum CR is 378. As you see, I'm 372. When it comes to my precision side, my might side, I believe it's 373. Don't quote me on that, because I could just switch, but I'm in the middle of making my precision loadout and about to put out the video for it, so stay tuned in for that. But as you see right here, got my precision, got my might. I only mentioned the maximum CR is 378 just because it will affect your stats in terms of the precision and the might and your CR. If you didn't also know, if you're at or above the CR of the thing that you are hitting, so like the sparring targets, any enemies and content and whatnot, then you do the actual damage that you're doing. Okay, if you are below the CR of the enemy that you are trying to battle, engage with, whatever you want to say, fight, then you actually get a little bit of a debuff and you don't do what should be your full damage. Okay, because their toughness and everything like that, their defense, I should say, because toughness is only for players versus other players, but their defense and everything like that, due to CR, gets increased. Well, technically your damages get decreased. Their defense is high enough to where yours should get decreased. But just want to go ahead and throw that little tidbit out there, something I included in the last recording of this video. And then definitely make sure you scale this to whatever your current CR is. I want to make sure to stress that very importantly. All right, so if you are max CR, so you got all the vendor gear, you know, elite gear at that, you maxed out your OP back item here. Excuse the dogs in the background, please. They're messing with each other in the crate. So, but if you have the OP back fully maxed out and you have all the gear from the vendor, especially the elite gear that gives you a little bit more stats with your weapons, your jewelry, and everything of the sort, then you will definitely be, I believe it is over 150,000 might. I think it's even to 160,000 might. I'm not quite sure though, so don't quote me fully on that, but I believe it is 160,000 might they should generally be at when you're fully maxed out in spec for the might. Okay, now if you're a precision, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, about 90,000, so almost to 100,000 precision there. But I believe it should be around 90,000 precision if you are spec for precision maxed out to the brim. Okay, so if you are not that high yet, like myself on my DPS item for precision, then you will scale these numbers down. Generally, if say you're 20,000 might short, sometimes funny enough, you can actually be 20,000 damage short per second. So if your goal is 100,000, then you may only be hitting 80 on a consistent basis, but you may get to the 100,000 later on, but you may probably hit 80 consistently. Okay, so just take that in consideration and account when you are doing these things. But generally you should be hitting on the single target right here, you know, back on topic here, 100,000 damage per second consistently. Your upper end that you want to actually hit is 120,000 per second, or at least 115,000 is where you want to be at that kind of sweet spot where you're definitely going to be in the conversation of top DPS. You should be number 1 or number 2, unless you got a speed hacker or something like that in your group. Okay, I just said speed hack because, you know, there's a big controversy right now with speed hacking. But that's how much you have for a single target. Now when it comes to the 3 targets, you're actually pretty much gonna double the damage, even though you have 3 more targets, or 2 additional targets on top of the one that you were fighting before. So the one that you should be hitting here for the numbers should be for top maxed out to the brim, you know, gear and specs, about 200,000 consistently. You know, not really dipping down past the 200,000 mark, but definitely hitting in the 220 to 230 range, 230,000 per second range there. That's where what you want to be at in terms of 3 target parsers. Okay, now the 5 target parsers, generally, funny enough, depending on how your power splits and what powers you're using or what weapons you're using, whatever it can be, how your loadout is, what you're doing in your rotation, you actually might hit very similar numbers in terms of damage from the 3 targets and the 5 targets. Some people even find it redundant to test for the higher targets. But if you didn't know, the way DC is coded for a lot of its abilities, how it splits is based off of the sparring targets that we have here. So it hits one way for one single target, and then there's a soft cap, if you will, for 3 targets right here, and then you'll hit the same power. We'll have another soft cap at 5 targets, and then we'll have another soft cap at 8 targets. Generally, this is for most general powers from what I've seen and noticed. It used to not always be like this, but I believe when they did a lot of the power revamps, they changed it this way. That's one of the reasons why electricity is so good when it comes to ads, because especially once you get past 8 targets, it doesn't really split past that. So it's just absolutely insane for all of the multiple target setups. All right, but let's go ahead and finish up this video. Back on topic. When it comes to the 5 target sparring target setup here, the parser numbers that you should be hitting are generally, excuse the dog in the background, y'all, but the numbers that you should be hitting are generally about that 210. Yes, that seems kind of minimal considering the jump that we had from the additional 2 targets from the single target to the 3 target. But once again, how this stuff is coded with the soft caps and everything like that, you're generally going to hit about the 220 range here. You definitely should be hitting 200 consistent. That should be without a shadow of a doubt, especially if you're on the higher end of the stats in gear and CR. If you're not hitting 200,000 per second consistently, especially after like the first 1 or 2 parsers when you're testing, you should look into upgrading or bettering your loadout. And if you want to, I do all the healer loadout powers. So I go through electric, celestial, nature, sorcery, water. Okay, those are powers I do. I'm a healer and I'm a DPS, so I test those powers out for y'all. Now if you need tank or controller powers, you're pretty much gonna have to go somewhere else for the time being, because I'm not doing those characters and those powers currently. I might do it in the future, so we might see how that goes, but right now I'm not doing that. But shameless plug out the way. Like I said before, about 220 should be around your goal. Now you can definitely hit higher than that, like the 250, all right, or more can definitely be your goal when you're in that more top of the line, you know, gear, stats, etc. Okay, for the CR. And I even had one homeboy, he was fully maxed out, fully spec'd out as could be, and he said he hit over 300,000 on the 5 targets with no trinket, no supercharge, no buff of any kind, no ally either. And I was kind of looking at him sideways, because I don't think that would be possible right now, but just so y'all have the extra information, that may be possible. I have not seen anyone else hit that hard when it comes to the 5 targets here without any buffs of any kind. Okay, now he was munitions, so munitions is generally considered a pretty good damage power, pretty consistent damage power at that too, so we can always take that in consideration. But hey, I don't know. But yeah, about 250,000 is what you should be having your goal at. If you definitely hit higher than that, which is possible, okay, especially I think the highest I've seen somebody that had a little bit more believable, still pretty high, was 280,000 per second. No buffs, no nothing else, everything like that. But it was with strategist card, you know, transformation card, and I forget the other, it might have been the amulet, with no like 35%er in the thing, so they had a healer healing them the entire time. But they were able to hit 280,000 here at the 5 targets with those artifacts and you know, strategist card, the dots were on all the targets and everything like that. So they were hitting insane numbers then. So definitely take that in consideration. But 250,000 should generally be your sweet spot of what you should be hitting to be in that conversation of top DPS. All right. So look, that's about it and all I got for this video right here. I've already made this video a few times, so bear with me, y'all. Apologize if I made this video seem a bit drawn out or if I talk too much. I'm trying to incorporate all the stuff that I incorporated on the previous recordings in this video here and as they came to my memory and whatnot. So bear with me there. Excuse the dogs in the background too. I'm about to go let them out. So without further ado, y'all, like, comment, subscribe, share the video out, all that good stuff. Y'all take it easy. Y'all be safe. Shalom.